During my pilgrimages around the world with the relics of St. Anthony, many people have confided to me, but even to my brothers, that they have met St. Anthony in their dreams. This is apparently a common phenomenon. In these dreams, St. Anthony reassures them, gives comfort, and sometimes even gives valuable suggestions. This need hardly surprise us because, in fact, the Bible is full of these examples of God communicated with human beings through dreams. Jacob's dream, for instance, in which he sees a ladder leading up to heaven, is a very famous episode from the book of Genesis. Jacob had that dream while fleeing from his brother Esau. Or the dreams that Saint Joseph, the spouse of Mary, had as related in the Gospel of St. Matthew. For many years now, a friar from the Basilica of St. Anthony always travels to Adelaide in Australia to celebrate the Saint's Feast in June. And the Church of Our Lady, Queen of Peace, becomes for 7 days a small Basilica of St. Anthony. 2 years ago, it was my turn to go to Adelaide, and while I was there, I met Ralph. Ralph told me that he has always been very devoted to St. Anthony, so much so that he called his first child Anthony. But above all, Ralph wanted to tell me how he had met St. Anthony in a dream. Anthony was a very lively child, and even though he was still small, he loved soccer and never lost a chance to play it with his friends. One day, however, his parents noted that the child was limping. But they didn't pay much attention to this fact because they thought he had, sprained his ankle playing. However, because the child kept on limping, after a few days, Ralph and his wife took him to the pediatrician. The woman doctor visited Anthony carefully but couldn't find anything, despite the fact that something had aroused her suspicion. After accurate visits and several tests in an important Australian hospital, the doctors were finally able to diagnose that Anthony had been struck by a very rare childhood condition, Legg-Calvé-Perthes disease. Perthes disease affects children and causes a temporary loss of blood supply to the femoral head. Due to the lack of blood flow, the bone dies and stops growing, with the result that the affected leg becomes shorter than the other, causing the child to limp. A partial remedy may be obtained through a series of operations on both legs, with long stays in the hospital, plaster casts, and prolonged periods of rehabilitation. One night, during Anthony's third hospitalization, his father Ralph had a dream. St. Anthony, holding the boy in his arms, approached him and said, "Here is your son. He is cured." A few minutes later, Ralph was woken up by a phone call from the hospital telling him that his son was no longer limping and could be dismissed. Anthony is now a grown-up man with no signs of his former disease. He has a family of his own and helps his father run a very successful family business called Valle di Sant'Antonio, near Adelaide. And in this picture, you can see me next to the sign of their farm. St. Anthony is the saint of miracles, and those who are sick lovingly place their trust in his intercession. If among your family members or your friends there is someone who is sick, now is the time to pray together. Dear St. Anthony, we fervently pray for our loved ones who are sick. We beg you to obtain for them the gift of healing, or at least to ease their pain and find inside of them the strength to offer their tribulation to the Lord in union with the Passion of Christ. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.